in the 9 months that this administration has been in place, as you survey some of the things that they've done, have you asked yourself the question, what would have happened in the last election had Barack Obama run on the things that he has done, that he's actually done? What if he had told the electorate that he intended to take over the auto industry, that he intended to pass $1 trillion in so-called stimulus that has had little effect on our jobs market, that he intended to pass another $407 billion omnibus bill, that he was going to pass the largest tax increase in American history in the form of cap and trade, which will, if passed by the Senate, cost as much as $2 trillion, and that he was going to pass a government health care takeover that would cost at least $1.5 trillion and completely diminish the freedom that this country has shown to be a hallmark in the world. I just don't think he would have done very well had he run on the things that he has done. And you'd think that people like me would be pretty discouraged because of some of the directions that this country's taken towards socialism, towards being soft on terrorism, and a lot of different things, just the absolute out-of-control spending. But I have seen something, sincerely as I know how to say to you, that is a great encouragement to me, and that is that the people of the country, of this nation, have arisen and awakened, and it's almost like we're back in the revolution, where people are starting to say, you know what, we're Americans, we're committed to freedom, and we're not going to stand by and let some of the things happen to our country. And today you're looking at just a sample of the 5 million pink slips that Americans have sent to Congress. And this is people that are saying to the members of Congress that we're fed up with the absolute out-of-control spending, and we are going to respond and do what we can to take our country back. A lot of us here have heard the American people. We are listening to you. We hear what you're saying. Now don't stop saying it, because it's starting to get through to some of the Democrats in this Congress. You are starting to win if you don't give up now. So thank you very much, and I'd like to now turn it over to Janet Folger-Porter.
Thank you, Congressman Franks, and I'm just very grateful for everyone who has responded. And it seems that there's a lot of discouragement. Some folks say, yeah, we have record-breaking crowds here, and they're not listening to the tea parties. They seem to have tuned out the town halls. Well, the way that your message is being heard is with the pink slip campaign that delivers and guarantees that pink slips are delivered in each office. As Congressman Franks just said, it's about 5 feet high in each office, not just in the House, but in the Senate as well. So I'm about 5'3". Michelle, Congresswoman Bachmann, is about the same height as I am. It's almost over our heads. And here's the good news. This has happened in just about, 6 weeks, Joseph? Something like that? It's less than 2 months. We have seen record-breaking, historic numbers delivered to Congress. And what Senator Jim DeMint said to me this week, he says, this is the reason why we have not seen these bills passed as quickly as they were planned. That is, they are hearing. I think there's a lot of folks who say, well, I don't want to send pink slips to people like, Congressman Steve King and to Trent Franks, Michelle Bachmann. They're our friends. And what they're telling us today is that keep them coming, that they don't mind decorating their offices from floor to ceiling in pink. It's a lovely color. And it's one that says, the American people, your message is being heard. But what it also does is it takes those folks who've been on the fence, those who are right now undergoing, probably at this moment, some arm twisting and arm breaking sessions behind closed doors. And it gives them courage. And I think more importantly, it reminds them that they don't work for the leadership in here. They work for you, the American people. And so with that reminder that you are their boss, in fact, it's on each pink slip, you are being put on notice. You work for us. And we don't want government health care, cap and trade. We don't want the government taking over our speech or any more deficit spending. And it says if you vote for any of these things, your real pink slip will be issued in the next election. Signed, your employer. Something that I think is keeping some folks up at night as they are struggling with what to do. I say remind them. We can't sit back and wait till next November because we may not recognize our country next November. We've got to act now. And that's why I'm very grateful to Joseph Farah, who's been doing the heavy lifting at WorldNet Daily. He's been actually boxing and packaging each one of these things, which, by the way, in the first week, the nation's supply of pink paper was diminished. It was gone. But if you were to not just stack them up to the Washington Monument, it's not just 3 times higher than that. If you laid them end to end, they'd come from here in our nation's capital all the way to Chicago. And then you stack them, they're higher than the Sears Tower. And it's a reminder to those, not only those who are standing strong to know that they don't stand alone, those on the fence to say they work for us, but I love the fact that those who are pushing this agenda, those who are trying to take over every aspect of our lives from healthcare to energy, taxing us for heating our homes and driving to work, taking over our healthcare where we have to fight through 57 bureaucratic committees, 57 bureaucracies just to get the life-saving treatment we need. Well, guess what? It's going to, I think, put a little bit of angst, maybe a little bit of pause as they go to cast these votes against us. They're going to be tripping over boxes of pink slips, and I think that's a help too. So if you are watching now, what I would encourage you to do, it's never been easier, it's never been more important. When you go to sendcongressapinkslip.com, very easy to do, in less than 60 seconds, you can hand deliver a pink slip individualized to each member of the House and the Senate from you, reminding them that they work for you and what you, the people, do not want. It's a lot of fun. We've never seen anything like this in our history that's delivered more results in such a short time, and that's because the American people are tired of being ignored, and this is a way that they can be heard. Thank you very much.
I'm carrying one of these pink slips around in my hand. I'll be reminding some other colleagues about what will happen if they don't listen to the American people. I would like to tell you a little bit about how we got here in the short version of history, and that is a little more than a year ago, there was a $700 billion TARP plan that was presented to this Congress, and it was presented in a bipartisan way. And that $700 billion came at this Congress and this country so fast, a lot of people didn't know what happened. People inside this building didn't know what happened, but it passed. And shortly after that, we had a presidential election, and in the middle of all of that, we watched the nationalization of 3 large investment banks. And AIG, that old phrase, too big to fail, really means too big that they don't have the will to allow failure. And so 3 large investment banks, AIG, all nationalized. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, nationalized. General Motors and Chrysler, nationalized. Now I've talked about perhaps as much as a third of the private sector profits in the United States under the control of the federal government. Taxpayer dollars laid out on the table without an act really of the legislature except the check for $700 billion for TARP. And then behind that came $787 billion in stimulus package, a lot of which isn't spent, much of which is wasted, and the American people are starting to see this pattern of this trip hammer effect of the assault on our freedom, the free enterprise, the fiscal responsibility, and the constitutional principles. And behind that came cap and trade, which really is cap and tax, and it was rammed through this House of Representatives, and not one single member of Congress read that bill. And I know that because the bill didn't exist at the time it was passed, and a bill that didn't exist was messaged to the United States Senate, and we call that some constitutional principle. I call it that's called democracy. It is supposed to be a constitutional republic. And then behind that, within the month of August, the American people rose up, and they filled town hall meetings, and we had almost a real-time rolling town hall meetings all across this country from sea to sea. And the American people's voice was heard temporarily. And we came back to this Congress after Labor Day, and then what happened was there was a shield that was built around many members. And so they lived in that bubble, that echo chamber of the Speaker of the House. And along came this socialized medicine bill that was leveraged and pushed through here a week ago last Saturday. But the American people were heard again. And about a week and a half ago, somewhere between 20 and 50,000 Americans from every single state answered the call and packed the west lawn of the Capitol building. 2 days later, they packed this lawn over here on the east side of the Capitol building. All across this country, we've had Tea Party patriots and other groups that have risen up, and they're saying, if you don't listen to us, we're going to give you a pink slip. My favorite poster, and I'm going to have to censor it a little bit, it's been in many of these rallies, and it goes like this: if you ram it down our throat in 2009, I'll stick it up your picture of a donkey in 2010. That's the message that the members of Congress need to hear. They need to hear the American people. Many of us inside this Capitol are on the side of the American people. We're calling for reinforcements. These pink slips are a call for reinforcements of fiscally responsible and constitutionally responsible Americans. And I embrace everybody that comes out here to defend our Constitution and defend our freedom and our fiscal responsibility. And you're going to have to answer the call many more times before we're going to get our freedom back. But it's coming, America. It's coming.